Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's a fairly red week, about 5% down, 22,000, after a fairly sort of green week on the stocks yesterday. I think I'm sort of overall just about even, but yeah, crypto not particularly happy, sort of still going through this sort of, well, pre-summer lull period. The phrase sort of sell in May and go away isn't always a gospel certainty, but seems to be sort of fairly true at the moment. We think we might get sort of another month of this still, but at some point, it will presumably bottom during that period and maybe sort of load up on a little bit more stuff. Probably crypto miners for me rather than actual coins, but we'll see. Having a look at the news then. So the CoinShares report, as sort of suggested last week, was quite green. We sort of knew this was going to be large. I think this coming one tomorrow should be negative from the looks of it, but yeah, it's sort of looking fairly good for the previous week. Almost all again into Bitcoin, obviously, 1.97 billion. 68 million into Ethereum, though. That's a decent number. Outflows from the multi-asset fund, and then small inflows into Solana and Binance Coin. I expect all of these will be sort of negative this coming week, just because everything seems to be going a little bit negative. And by country, we sort of saw a huge relatively huge inflow into some of these. Brazil sort of had seen their first outflow and has sort of had one of the biggest inflows I've seen. They've sort of been fairly steady so far. Canada, Hong Kong with inflows, small inflow for Germany and Switzerland, and then an outflow on Sweden. But yeah, again, presume a lot of these will be red in the coming week. As I say, this week's been a little bit red. So 10th of June, sort of beginning of the week, US saw 64 million of outflows, and then we sort of got a 200 million outflow, 100 million inflow, and then two sort of 200 million outflows again. So yeah, people just sort of taking profits or selling, not very happy. Maybe they bought the highs, and if this is institutions, we don't really know 100% if this is small institutions or retail, buying through their brokerage accounts. I don't think we've got sort of the big, long-term institutions, pension funds and sovereign wealth funds and that sort of thing just yet. We've just got short-term sort of hedge funds and that sort of people. So, yeah. Presumably, as I say, next month is going to be a bit choppy and up and down, and sort of coming out of summer will be the positive time. Do have a potential catalyst coming up, although there's a disagreement between the sort of reporters and Gary Gensler. Eric Balchunas of Bloomberg is saying the spot ETFs for Ethereum could begin trading by July the 2nd. Gary Gensler has sort of come out saying by the end of the summer, so potentially meaning sort of late August, maybe into September. But Eric Balchunas is saying he expects sooner. Issue is still waiting to get comments from corporate filings, and yeah, may need to be pushed back to July the 4th. But this is all sort of fairly soon, in 2 weeks, pretty much 2.5 weeks for them to launch. So in quite stark contrast to Gary Gensler. And amidst all this unhappiness, we have good old Michael Saylor. I'm not sure why everyone uses this sort of very unhappy photo of him sort of in front of his boat, but yeah, they all seem to go with that. Issued a 500 million convertible note offering I think you can guess what he plans to do with that. But he increased it to 700 million. Presumably there was sort of indicated demand to increase it. And yeah, offered buyers the option to purchase an additional 100 million. Bernstein has set a $2,890 price target for the shares, so indicating a massive, massive upside for them. We're going back to sort of crazy premium compared to their Bitcoin holdings. They hold 214,400 Bitcoin worth 14 billion. So yeah, if we start getting them back up to 30 billion plus, I'm not really sure I see sort of the point of that, and you'll probably just get a mass of convertible notes and buying Bitcoin again, and yeah, that'll be sort of bull market time again. But I'm guessing that is sort of later on, potentially later on in the summer or after the summer. It seems really disappointing as well. Terraform Labs, sort of in charge of the Terra coin that went bust in 2022, sort of caused part of the bear market. Although it was a bear year anyway, I think that would have come with or without Terra. But yeah, SEC suing them for $4.47 billion. The SEC are sort of there to protect investors, and this sort of looked kind of scammy even during the middle of the year, and they just sort of let it crash, and now sort of 2 years later fining them for an enormous amount of money. No plans to give this back to investors from the looks of it, so certainly not protecting investors. But yeah, it looks like they'll get sort of very little of that. Terraform had assets of 430 million in January against liabilities of 450 million. And yeah, there are secure creditors, whether that's banks and credit issuers that would be above the SEC. So obviously the net amount of whatever these assets are worth compared to these liabilities, once even if the secured creditors get a fraction of what they're owed, then yeah, SEC sort of issuing a fine of 10 times their assets could end up getting nothing pretty much. So a little bit silly to come out with this fine, and I'm sure there'll be sort of negative headlines then of SEC gets almost nothing of their fine. And it just seemed a bit of an arbitrary number, really. So a little positive for Australia. VanEck have entered the Bitcoin ETF market over there, launching the first one approved by the Australian Securities Exchange with the ticker VBTC. They didn't go with HODL as they have in the US, but yeah, VanEck BTC, it sort of somewhat rolls off the tongue. So this first one that has been approved by the ASX, but they have had the monochrome Bitcoin ETF, which interestingly has IBTC as the ticker, same as the iShares one in the US. They have launched and have 46 Bitcoin, up from 17 only sort of a week or so previously, but I mean 46 Bitcoin, it's $3 million. It's nothing sort of too huge, but it is Australia. Global X 21 shares had the first Bitcoin ETF to debut in Australia. Not sure that was spot, but Australia obviously not a massive market, but if we start getting them all over the world, then yeah, can only be good. And then very, very belatedly, we got the Q1 report for Cardano on Masari. So for sort of ending March, this is quite late to be bringing out their Q1 report. It's the end of Q2 in 2 weeks. So yeah, doesn't look hugely popular or hugely promising really. Daily active addresses up slightly, 13%, but 47,000 daily active users for what is quite a big market cap, 22 billion market cap. That's not great. Quarterly revenue up 43%, admittedly, so treasury looks reasonably good. Daily active transactions 70,000, slightly up. And total value locked 394 million, so pretty much stayed the same. So some more network bits. The transaction per address ratio is sort of looking still higher than sort of this time last year. 1.49 transactions, slightly down from previous quarter, but there you go. Transaction fee up though, 37% to 21 cents. So it's sort of obviously lower than Ethereum and people like that, and Bitcoin, but much higher than Solana. So not really sure what they're trying to achieve. I thought they would want to be lower fee. Obviously Solana's fee has been increasing, but sort of from fractions of a penny to 1 penny. And that's sort of median transaction fee, that's the overall average. I think they say the median is much lower than the mean average. So it's certain people willing to pay a fortune, and everyone else pays very little. Whereas Cardano's is 21 cents. Active stake pretty much the same. Engaged stake pretty much the same as well. Yeah, sort of highlighted some of these on DeFi Llama before. Total value locked at 611 million. It's sort of pretty flat for pretty much the last year. Stablecoin value up 3.7%. It's from almost nothing and is barely increasing, so that's not ideal. Top protocols, sort of Indigo and MinSwap, they're not really names that get out there, has to be said, and sort of nothing's really on the up. NFTs as well. Admittedly, the NFT market is sort of in a bit of a hole at the moment. It's not looking great on Solana, but the Cardano NFT side is sort of very low. Daily unique buyers is down to 900 from sort of 2,000 this quarter last year, but it did drop off to the low 1,000s, and the sort of buyer to seller ratio is still awful. So you have 900 new daily buyers and 124 sellers. So it's not sort of a super active market from the looks of it. People are just buying things and holding them, which is kind of, I would say, symbolic of the Cardano ecosystem. But yeah, not great. Daily NFT trading volume is sort of pretty flat considering the price is up. And yeah, they're sort of releasing Hydra, their sort of set of scaling protocols, and they're sort of focusing on decentralization of governance. That sort of remains a key focus. I sort of think, yeah, that's great, but if not that many people are using it, then you can be as decentralized as you want, sort of as just a popular small community that everyone loves. But they're not a small community. It's a $22 billion market cap. Eventually, I think you have to start sort of justifying that. So this is most certainly on the sell pile. I'm kind of waiting for maybe a little bit more liquidity, sort of if they get a sudden spike because of various sort of forks and developments that they're doing, then I would probably sell it, or maybe just wait for a little bit more liquidity in the crypto market, and maybe I sort of sell that, and even if sort of gold and silver or something have gone up a little, I expect Cardano and some of the other altcoins might have a much higher spike. So yeah, might sell it and sort of put it into something I've got a little bit more conviction in, because I do kind of think, as I mentioned before, I'm just sitting waiting for Cardano to do something and sort of justify their enormous market cap. So yeah, a little bit of a shame, but we'll see where it goes. So looking at coins for the week, it's pretty much a red wall. Bitcoin down 4%, Solana down 8.7%. That's not had a good week. Ethereum 3% down, Chainlink 7%, Cardano 5.3% in the middle of the pack. XRP is almost flat, 0.7% down. Gala 13%. Audius is the only one actually in the green, 4.35%. Power Ledger 9.7% down. Matic 6%. Quant 1.2% down. Internet Computer 16.2%. That's the worst of the week. Basic attention token 2%, and VeChain 9%. So yeah, not good overall, but you know, it's this is crypto. 5% overall is very, very little. So we'll have to sort of wait for this better liquidity scenario, sort of maybe towards the end of the summer, and stay patient. So leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.